Laba diena. Hello. І доброго дня. My name is Vitalii, and I'm audio designer in the World of Tanks PC project. First things first, I want to say hello to my school English teacher. So, if you will feel confused from my English pronunciation, just let me know. I'll switch to Ukrainian. So, I have over 10 years of experience in sound design for games, esport broadcasts, and advertising. I hosted my own radio show about EDM on the best dance radio station in Ukraine. Audio vision and visual listening are two main elements we work on as game audio people. Today, we will talk about how to build those connections without forgetting about creativity. Few words about difference between line audio in a film and game audio. In games, sound must react dynamically to player actions. In film, sound is fixed and always plays the same way. Game sound adapts to the environment, but film audio is premixed and doesn't change. Game audio often use real-time processing for effects, while film audio is mixed in post-production. Game sounds needs to loop or be random to avoid repetition. In films, every sound is unique and timed. Game sounds helps the player feel part of the game by providing feedback. Film sounds focus on storytelling and making you feel emotions. What audio team includes age specialists. We manage a large and complex project that has been running for 14 years. Currently, the project contains over 100,000 audio sources and more than 55,000 voice tracks. In our audio team, we work with famous celebrities. We create music that gets millions of plays on various platforms. But today, I want to talk about one specific feature. It's next generation maps. Just be sure in-game sound without glitches. So, briefly about the next generation maps feature. In the World of Tanks, we have 40 maps, where 30 vehicles have fight. Players love and are very familiar with our maps, so why not give them more variety? To make battles more interesting and diverse, we added random events. This means that during a battle, a zeppelin can fall on the map. This not adds more only visual effects, but it also changes the gameplay. There will be more places to hit and new ways to maneuver. The goal of this feature is to increase map replayability, create new gameplay on the maps, and build the next generation of maps. World of Tanks is powered by Big World and Encore. It's our own custom game engine. World of Tanks is powered by WWISE. Since 2018, we have been using this audio engine to implement our audio ideas in the game. There are our own main tools when working on the sound for the game. So what is random event scenario from a development perspective? In the game engine, we have a parent scenario prefab that includes child prefabs for different states. Prefab or prefabricated object is reusable, pre-configured asset that can be easily instantiated or placed in a game scene. So we can consistency across multiple instances of the same object. In scenario, we have 3 states. Normal, it's a state, it's a part of scenario that doesn't affect gameplay, like a flying airplane, a wall building, or air battle. Transition, this is the actual transition from the wall state to destroyed state. And destroyed, it's the state in which game objects remain until the end of the battle. During development, we use a sequence editor where we can control game objects, effects, and sounds. Level artists, 3D artists, and level designers work on the prefab. Once the scenario foundation is ready, the audio team steps in. Developing the new generation maps feature was a challenge for us. Not only artistic part, but also solve many technical problems. We need to score different types of explosions, wood debris, stones, metal debris, and more. Custom score for each event is not rational. The content would take up a lot of memory, and it would also negatively impact performance because random events happen on the server. And we need to synchronize all audio and visual parts. We, together with developers, improved the audio components in the game engine. Game object follower component gives the opportunity to attach audio source to game object. We also upgraded our Sound 3D component. We added fade in and fade out and volume coefficient in component. So now we can easily and quickly manage those parameters inside game engine. At the early stages of development, we didn't know what to expect. How many maps would have events? How many events there would be, or what those events would be. Events so random that we ourselves didn't know, but we knew for sure that they needed to sound high quality, realistic, artistically rich, and informative. The player should understand what is happening and where it's happening. It's very important to maintain balance, not make the event stand out from the overall gameplay mix, and make it bright enough so that the event doesn't become annoying. We decided to create an even audio construction kit. It allows us to work with content quickly. We made a list of audio events that we need and that might be useful in the future. While creating content, we used various audio libraries and our own recordings made by our audio team over several years. The audio constructor includes many elements. each containing different content depending on the distance. It's a close, medium, and far. It's also categorized by size: small, medium, and large. Today we will consider the constructor using 2 maps and 2 scenarios as an example. This is the Himmelsdorf map with the scenario of an Zeppelin crash, and the Pilsen map with destruction of the roof. Too loud for me, thanks. Here we will take pause and talk about the UI and UX part. We notify the player that an event will happen on the mini-map. There is also a red marker, which is voiced by 3D sound with a narrow attenuation angle. So players far away can localize the event and quickly go there, as the gameplay situation there will change now, or they can run away from there. But part of the notification we made native. It's not UI sound, it's a natural sound of object. In video example, you heard powerful and alarming horn of the Zeppelin. So, back to the audio constructor on Pilsen map. We have artillery preparation that happens outside of the map boundaries. It cannot damage player. It plays a more artistic role here. This is also part of notification system. The source of the artillery isn't very important. What's important is to signal to the player that something serious is about to happen. For explosions, we create separate game objects where we play the event. Many may ask, why do we create separate game objects for sound? In the timeline, we can control many parameters of the game objects. But those parameters will also affect all child. That's why we create our own separate game object. Here we use small, not very powerful explosions from the constructor. After each explosion, we must add dust and debris. Let's listen to how small explosions sound at different distances. Let's look in more detail at the constructor in WWISE. The main elements of destructible objects are divided into categories. It's explosions, metal, concrete, glass, airplanes, engines, and more. The explosion event includes a random container that contains several blank containers with different content. Explosions sound often, so it's important to have a variety of content. We must use randomization of parameters such as pitch and volume. The content is divided by distance. Besides the distance parameter, we also use separate attenuation to fine-tune. Let's pay special attention to the planes. We are currently using several models. Let's look at the example of Blenheim. This is a British light bomber designed and built by Bristol Airplane Company. The audio event also contains different content depending on the distance. To make the plane's movement sound more natural, we simulate different behavior. We use additional close-up content and we use few custom parameters. Azimuth, it's horizontal angle between audio emitter and listener. We change the volume of engine. We change the volume and engine filtering by this parameter. We also use an external Doppler factor RTPC parameter. It comes from the code. Let's see how it works in WWISE and in the game. Let's take a look on example. For the epic part of the event, we choose an audio event explosion that fits the scale of visual effects. Just before the main explosion, it's important to provide players the feeling something big and powerful will happen soon. So we use sweeteners before impacts. It's a good practice to create micro pauses between events. This approach makes scenario sound more dramatic and cinematic. Every audio event have own spot on the timeline. It makes them sound bright and do not interrupt each other. The metal roof falls after the explosion, so it's important to emphasize the screeching metal and add metallic debris. After assembling the audio system in WWISE and rough tuning, we always perform detailed audio polishing in the game. I should note that even when scenario is over, the sound keeps living. For example, in the destroyed state, we add earth stress and some fire. We made an audio kit that used less memory. This helped keep the sound quality high in the game and allowed us to add many different sounds by mixing layers randomly. We achieved better overall game performance and enhanced the stability of the audio system. With the new approach, we have more creative freedom. The development process of the audio system has become faster and more efficient. The tools we made for the game engine give us more ways to work with sound. This simplified the process of integrating new sound effects and synchronizing them with in-game events. This made it easier to add new sound effects and match them with things happening in the game. Creative and technical solutions allowed us to achieve a great result. We have a flexible tool for score random events. There are more than 40 maps in the game, so there is still a lot of new content for random events ahead. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Any question, maybe?
Yeah. I wanted to say that. Well, thankfully the sound system survived. That was very impressive. Yeah, let's do some questions if we have about whatever is connected with sound.
Thank you. Thanks for the talk. It was quite informative. What I wanted to ask was, where do you get the sound samples themselves? Do you record them on the field, or do you use some sort of a public library?
So, as I said before, we manage a complex and big project, what was running for 14 years. So, our audio team had a lot of recording session. Sorry. A lot of recording session, and we use our old recordings. It was made a few years ago, and some fresh. Sometimes, for example, one per 3 months, we, with our team, can go to some field or something place and make some recordings. And after that, we use it. We had a lot of recordings in our office, in our studio, because as I remember, 2 years ago, I made 3D style for one Panzer, and this Panzer was with electric engine, and we simply use my electric scooter in the studio, recorded, and made engine sound from this electric scooter.
So it's entirely recorded by Wargaming?
Yeah.
Nice.
A lot of. But
Okay.
we're using some different audio libraries. Everybody know about these libraries. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then another question I had was, you mentioned randomizing the sounds. So I can see how randomizing sounds is extremely useful for repetitive sounds. So if you've got an autoloader, you need to vary each sound so it doesn't get too repetitive for players' ears. But random events, on the other hand, they happen like once per battle. So I'm just curious, do you add any randomization to random event sounds, or is it just the same sound every time? Because it's probably going to be an hour between the player hearing the same sound twice, so he wouldn't be able to tell if you add any randomization. So I'm just wondering, is there any, or do you just play the same sound?
1 second of misunderstanding,
Oh, yeah.
So, as I told in my presentation, I created construction kit. So, if, say simply, I have a small explosion, I have a big explosion, I have large explosion and epic explosion, only for events. In every event, I have a lot of different content.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and additionally, we use pitch randomization and volume randomization. So it means that small explosion sound, you can hear the same event in various maps and in various scenarios. It would be one explosion event, but you will hear different sounds because we use randomization.
And it's just always enabled if you're
Yeah,
playing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
understood. And one last very specific technical question: do you know what kind of sound limit, sound instance limit, do you have in the game? Like 128? Is there like a hard number?
How many voices?
Yeah, how many voices?
I know, but it will be my secret.
Okay, understood. All right. Thank you.
Thank you too. Any more questions? Yeah, please.
Hi, Vitalii. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it like if an event is happening far away from the listener, there was no delay between sound and visual effect?
No, you will have delay. You will have different reverberation and a little bit delay, but you need to check it in the game.
Okay.
So here,
Sure.
sorry, not best way to understand it.
Yeah.
But we
And
have, believe me.
Like, if this assumption was wrong, you've mentioned some recording sessions, but you also mentioned recording Scooter. Did it happen to you that you recorded like a real life tank and then the recording was like it was realistic, but it wasn't usable in game because in game it sounds like an old fridge, for example. Like.
I understand. I never record real tanks, but guys from my audio team did it. And we have a lot of content of engines, of panzer movement, and yeah, we have a lot of content what we can't use.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, more people? Or, okay, yeah.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I wanted to ask, well, you mentioned altering pitches and other values of the sounds. Do you have it some sort of established, like how much you're comfortable altering those values for sound to stay natural? Is it like dynamic, like depends on distance, the changes in pitch, or not really?
I'm so sorry. Could you rephrase a little bit and cut your question on?
Sure. How do you? What are the comfortable ranges for for most sounds in which they still kind of remain recognizable and not get? You don't go too far altering the pitch to render it kind of.
So you asked me about the value of the pitch randomization.
Well, pitch and
in
other
one
values
audio
that are
event.
dynamically like altered for each
about
sound.
minus 200 and plus 200.
Oh, that's quite broad.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and is it like dynamically altered? How do you say?
By distance, you mean?
Yeah. By distance or other parameters like that are dynamic gameplay based.
I can say that on Explosion, we didn't use randomization, pitch randomization by distance. But I'm talking about Explosion. On few another events, on few another sound, we can do it, and we do it.
Thank you.
Dreams